Hello everyone, welcome to number 6 video in the World Explorers map. And my name's Jason. We're going to be doing some more cartography today. And I've got a small list of things I'd like to get done, and I'm going to set my timer for 12 minutes. All right, and we'll see if we can get it done. Okay, now we've been working on Asia, but I thought it'd be nice to try to jump, just to change things up a little. We'll jump down to Oceania, okay? And there's a couple of famous explorations that took place. Maybe I'll go with a yellow to highlight the first one that we're going to talk about. This one was run by an explorer, Abel Tasman, I think is how you say it. And here's the route right here. You can kind of follow along with me. I'm using a yellow to highlight that route. And you can see it goes all the way around what we call Oceania. And the big island, continent of Australia. I guess we could also call that a continent too. It goes through this group of islands here. Okay, just do your best to follow that dashed line. That's the general location of one of his major travels. And his name was Tasman, and he was credited with discovering Tasmania, New Zealand, and the Fiji Islands. So let's label the big areas of land first, okay? Maybe we could just kind of write Australia right about here. This would be a good place to put it, I think. I'm going to use all capital letters and just put like a little arrow to Australia. Okay, now let's look at the geography of Australia, because we have a few things we can check off our list here. We've got the big mountain range along the eastern coast. Okay, and that's called the GreatDividing Range. So let's actually put that in right now. Great dividing. And we can check it off our list in the mountains. Okay, and let's see. Let's add a little bit of color. And well, let's, in keeping with it, Tasman, let's actually label the other things that he was able to discover too. This island of Tasmania, which is named after him. Okay, maybe we could put it right about here. Tasmania. Also home of the Tasmanian devil, that animal that is unique to that island. Okay, now here we have New Zealand. I think I'll use all capitals for that. It is a country. And these are the Fiji Islands. Okay, so we've got the, maybe we could take a blue and just do a little bit of the coastline down here. Let's go around that little island, Tasmania. Two islands of New Zealand, the North Island and the South Island. And we can put a little bit around the Fiji Islands. Okay, you can see lots of other islands in here too. We won't do them all right now, but eventually you can go around some of these other little islands in here. Maybe we'll talk about them some more. But let's go back and do a little bit more coloring of these mountains, the Great Dividing Range. We could put a little bit, there was an interesting word that you don't hear too often. This is called the Great, let me just write it. Great Australian Bight, B-I-G-H-T. And it's kind of like a bay, but not so enclosed as a bay. They call it, they describe it as more of a curved coastline. See how it's got that big curve to it? It's not really enclosed like a bay or a gulf. So that's a word you don't hear too often, Bight, B-I-G-H-T. So I'm going to highlight that and put a little bit of blue along that coastline. Now, in my list of deserts, I called it the Australian desert. Let's look over here for a second. You can see the deserts. I called it the Australian desert. That was kind of a generic name for this big desert over here in Australia. There are actually several different deserts that make up that big desert. And I made a list of them. I'll tell you what they're called. There's at least 4 different ones that I could find, and this includes the Great Sandy Desert, the Gibson Desert, the Great Victoria Desert, and the Simpson Desert. So there's a lot of deserts, different names of different deserts, but they do make up this is a very large area of desert in Australia. I think we won't even bother to label it per se. We'll just give it some color, and that's a hot desert. So maybe a little bit of orange in there would be nice too. A little bit of yellow. Give it those warm colors. And that kind of also leads us into another expedition that took place in Australia. This was run by Burke and Wills. You can see that label right there, Burke and Wills. And you can do a little bit of maybe research about that, but what they were trying to do was find an overland route from southern Australia all the way up to the northern coast and then back again. And that was a classic example of an expedition that just went bad in so many different ways. There was starvation, death. They had to fight temperatures of 140 degrees. There was massive rainstorms. To make a long story short, it was a real tragic expedition. And I think only one person, with the help of the Aboriginal people, the indigenous people of Australia, that one person that completed the trip survived, but there was very little else good to say about it. But you can see Australia has a lot of very extreme weather, hot weather, heavy rains. Okay, and that was a classic example of a very difficult journey. So many of these trips were not successful. Well, you know, they were very, very dangerous trips into the unknown. You know, they didn't know what they were going to face, and they didn't all end well. You know, so okay, I'm going around that coast of Australia a little bit right now. Maybe later on you could add the great coral reefs, which are right about in this area here. I won't do that right now, but okay, let me look at my list. I've got talked about Tasmania, Australia, the Great Australian Bight, Great Dividing Range, New Zealand, Fiji Islands, Australian Desert, and Tasmania. Maybe one last thing we could do. Let's just add a little color to that sign of Oceania. I'm going to take my black marker and darken it in a little. Well, you can see I colored in some more of my dots on the border. Okay. Let's just give a little bit of color to that banner of Oceania. That'll round out our video for the day. All right, we got quite a bit done today. That's a good place to stop now. We might go back a little bit more to Oceania and do a little bit more work on the islands and you know, some of that work. But that was a good amount of work done today. And little by little, like I said, we're going to continue to work on our continents, and we'll talk a little bit about the explorers that took place on those continents. All right. Well, good job today. Thank you.